This is Madison with Health by Ratio, and this is the first training in a 3-part series all about how to finally prevent and get control of nagging injuries while staying fit in the ways that we love to push the body. So if you're watching live or watching the recording of this, give me a thumbs up below in the comments if this topic is passionate for you, something that you want to achieve. You want to be able to be active and healthy and fit in the ways that you love, but not just in the immediate future. You want to be able to do this for years and decades to come. So if that resonates with you, give me a thumbs up in the comments below. Like I said, whether you're watching live or the recording of this. And my name, for those of you who don't know, Madison. I am a functional movement coach, corrective exercise specialist, and nutritional coach, and I founded Health by Ratio. And my team and I consist of licensed physical therapists, corrective exercise coaches, strength and conditioning coaches, and personal trainers, as well as functional health coaches on the nutritional side that work together holistically with each of our clients. And our whole mission is to bridge the gap between recurring injuries and chronic pains and toward whatever fitness and or sports or athletics or just like activities that individual wants. We want to make sure that they're not just rehabilitating and solving their injuries and healing in the short term. We want to make sure that it's translating to the activities that they love and are passionate about. And our whole mission is to get other people in control of their own health. We want you guys to be self-empowered on how to achieve your health and fitness goals. So without further ado, let's get started with my first point. So today, like I said, I wanted to start by talking about why injuries occur and keep coming back, as well as why random ones start showing up over time. And that way, if we have that understanding, we can truly heal from them and enjoy the forms of fitness we want and love and feel great doing the most. So the first point that I want to make is that unfortunately, most forms of exercise are repetitive and they create overuse of certain tissues and certain ranges of motion that cause injuries and wear and tear over time. Now, this is a no-brainer if you're somebody that enjoys a sport like tennis or golf, and like we're rotating to one side over and over again. We kind of see that. Or if we're a runner and we're doing kind of the same steps over, or we love hiking, for instance, go on long walks, that kind of thing. That's a repetitive motion over and over again. But what about those of us that kind of do some cross training? We like doing boot camps or circuit training, or we're enjoying like Pilates or yoga, where there's a larger variety of movement patterns. And unfortunately, the answer is still yes. They are often still over dominant on certain muscle groups and in certain on certain tissues around certain joints that cause overuse. And the general theme, even for yoga and Pilates, let alone circuit training, let alone our favorite sports, is that they end up being really dominant on the anterior side, meaning like our quads and our hip flexors, as well as like our pectorals, the front of our shoulders, this kind of stuff, the things that are in front of us. And like like even yoga, for instance, we could think about all the various poses like warrior, all the varieties of warrior poses, engage those hip flexors and quads. All of the downward dog and three-legged dog are closing off those hip flexors. Our chair poses and tree poses and so many others, like they're all very quad hip flexor dominant, and they impact us. Now, there are some poses, just like there are some general exercises in like our boot camps and strength training and that kind of stuff, that do counterbalance and work on our big butt muscle, our glutes and our hamstrings and that kind of stuff. But for every one or two of those poses or one or two of those exercises in a boot camp class, often there's 4, 5, 6 in that yoga flow or in that Pilates workout or in that boot camp that are closing off those quads and tightening, or those hip flexors are tightening up those quads. And then on the front of the shoulder, think about all the varieties of planks and push-ups that we do throughout yoga and our workouts, any kind of shoulder presses, all the various arm positions that we're holding, those are all the front of the shoulder focus. So this over-dominance towards the front of us, while not having very much loaded work on the back of us, the posterior chain, causes injuries. It also makes us less efficient in our fitness goals, because the name of the game with regards to getting in shape is that we want to be able to work out slash exercise the big muscle groups. The bigger they are, the harder they fall. No, I'm kidding. The bigger they are, the more calories they burn, and the more anabolic hormones we actually develop from those big tissues. And 2/3 of our muscle sits behind us. 2/3 is on the backside of us. 1/3 is in front of us. So we want to be prioritizing more stuff behind us because it counterbalances us, it stabilizes us, but it also burns the most calories. It creates the most anabolic hormones. We get to our fitness goals a heck of a lot faster. And to illustrate this, a quick example, a story that I want to tell you is one of our clients, Nancy, who worked with me a number of years ago. First, obviously wanted to achieve fitness goals, wanted to get in really good shape. She was a fitness junkie, but was dealing with chronic neck pain, massive neck pain. 17 years earlier, she had gone through a brutal car accident. She had damage to the ligaments around her neck. They didn't attach correctly. And so she was just in chronic neck pain all the time. And she's mom as well as a CEO of her business and like just constantly working, moving, and then trying to get yoga in a couple of times a week, or then go to a boot camp class once or twice a week if her neck was feeling up to it. She would hit her treadmill and get in some walk and runs when she wasn't going to the gym or one of the studios that she belonged to. And so she was consistently active, but she was chasing symptoms and just barely managing pain with several, like 2 to 3 chiropractic visits a week, often a massage every week, acupuncture multiple times a month. Like she was spending an arm and a leg on these treatments as well as like a ton of time on just being able to barely get through the forms of fitness that she loves. So her health, between her job, her career, her kid, her health, there was no time for her outside of these things. It was just crazy. But when we started taking a look at how she was moving throughout her day, what postural position she was in, that's what we're about to talk about in a second, how she was moving throughout her workouts, and instead create a program that counterbalanced it, that was focusing on strengthening up the stabilizers that weren't getting developed enough so that she could regain balance in her body, her neck responded almost immediately. Like I remember within 6 weeks of her getting into her program, she was thinking about it and she's like, I just realized it's been 4 weeks since I've seen my chiropractor. I haven't done been a couple of weeks without seeing him, let alone a month. And I can't even remember. Her neck just started stabilizing itself, and she got on top of her own health. And on top of it, by working these bigger tissues, she got in the best shape of her life. She's in her 40s and she dropped 5% body fat and got lean and toned the ways that she'd been struggling to do so, just because she was able to work on these big muscle tissues. So she killed 2 birds with 1 stone. She stopped her injury, and she was able to get more efficient with her workouts and crush her fitness goals. So point number 2, which I kind of already hinted at, was the other thing we got to be conscious of beyond just repetitive use around our workouts is our postures. Our daily postures and movement patterns are to blame. So things that we really got to key in on is sitting, whether that's sitting in front of our computers, on the couch, driving, whatever, but also looking at our devices, like looking at our phones, the postural positions that we're in. They affect our movement patterns because of tightnesses that get developed, and they put strain in a very subtle way on certain joints, like our lower back, our necks, our shoulders, whatever, that aggravate us slowly over time. Now, anyone watching this, whether, again, live or watching a replay of this video, anyone that spends a handful of hours sitting a day, give me a 1 down in the comments. Just give me a number 1 down in the comments. I am in this boat myself. Like I personally have to spend a number of hours sitting each day. I got to counterbalance it, but it's part of my job. And like for those of you that are like, no, Madison, I'm not sitting throughout my day. I am active. I'm chasing kids around. I'm out and about. I'm running around the house, whatever. For those that aren't feeling like they feel super active, I'm with you. I understand, but you're still spending several hours a day sitting, and those add up, even if it's only 15, 20 minutes here and there. Think about all the meals that you have. Maybe that's 30 minutes to an hour a day. Think about the drive time that you have, maybe 10 to 15 minutes here and there. That adds up. Think about the time at the end of the day when we're finally settling down and we're trying to maybe just watch a TV show and decompress a little bit. Whatever, those little bits of time here and there add up to several hours. And over the course of years, we get really tight. Not to mention, all of us started off as kids, as students. We were sitting for hours every day in class and doing homework and all that kind of stuff. So we've cultivated this pattern into our bodies, and we've developed tightnesses around it throughout our whole lives. But what do we do to counter it? Now, many of us think we counterbalance our sitting by just getting up. I got a standing desk, so I now stand in front of my computer instead of sit. Or I get up and walk. I hit my 10,000 steps every day. That's countering all that sitting. I'm opening myself up. Wrong. Standing and or walking is a neutral position. So sitting is one extreme, tightening us up forward and down, very much complementing the things that we overuse in our workouts there. It's tightening up our hip flexors, it's tightening up our shoulders and around our neck. Same thing that we have with those overused workouts that we do. But on top of it tightening us up that way, when we're standing up, we're just going to neutral. We're not actually pulling ourselves the opposite direction, the other extreme, and spending time there to counterbalance it. So that's very similar to like thinking of sitting or standing and walking as good enough to counterbalance our sitting time as like saying you like maybe not everyone's done this, but at some point maybe you've gone on like a 3-day bender. You went crazy. You went to Vegas for a weekend and had a blast. You partied it up. You slept, barely slept. You were drinking too much or eating crappy foods or whatever, dancing up a storm, having a blast. And then what happens when you come back home? Do you go back to work per usual? Probably have to. Are you getting your normal like 6 to 7 hours of sleep and trying to get your normal workouts in and cranking it up at the gym? Or did you get back home and try to go to bed a little bit earlier and spend a few nights trying to catch up on sleep? Maybe you started cleaning up, like ate extra healthy for a few days to try to counterbalance all that junk food that you had while you were on that trip. Or like maybe your workouts are a little bit more low key, or you're even resting and not even doing them to try to recover a bit. You're trying to swing the pendulum back the other direction to even out your body. Well, that's what we got to do on the postural side. We got to get our body in the other ranges of motion, the other extremes to counterbalance it. Now, that doesn't mean just spending 2 minutes stretching each day. As a matter of fact, we're going to get really specific in part 3 of this 3-part series, which will be on Wednesday, on how to specifically mobilize the body in a minimal amount of time each day, but how to get us so that we are resetting that pendulum back to neutral completely by moving the body the other extreme to offset these postural positions that we're in. Now, point number 3, the final one that I want to make for today, is one that I want you to hear the whole thing before you gather this and get discouraged. The point number 3 is that we deteriorate with age. And it's a snowball effect where it tends to go downhill. Now, this isn't to say that as we get older, we're destined to wear down, nor if we're already worn down, like had a bunch of series of injuries and accidents and whatnot, that we can't heal and improve with age. But anyone here that's watching this live or the recording of it, have you ever felt like you've gotten to a point where you're over the hill? And now your body is starting, as one of our clients likes to joke about, the great decline each year, meaning each year you're getting a little bit worse. The back is hurting a little more. The knees are getting a little bit stiffer. Those winter months hurt just a little bit more, make us ache a little bit more. Has anyone felt that way? Give me a 2 down in the comments if that's something that resonates with you. Now, I'm here to say that I have seen and worked with 80-year-old skiers coming off of brutal sciatica for years. I've seen 70-year-old ultramarathon runners that have come off of plantar fasciitis and knee injuries and back injuries galore and still been able to enjoy their running activity in their 70s and complete ultramarathons. And countless people that were in their 50s and 60s that were dealing with brutal injuries through their 30s and 40s and were able to correct how they moved and able to relearn how to exercise smartly in the ways that they loved. And they were able to get in the best shape of their lives in comparison to their 30s and 40s just by doing these things. But most of us aren't committed, nor do we even know we need to correct our body's movement patterns, whether it's how we're exercising, how we're running, how we're walking, how we sit down and stand up, how we're stabilizing throughout our day. It's become so second nature, we don't even realize that there's little subtle imbalances that cause death by 1,000 cuts. They cause us to start irritating these old injuries over and over again. Or we start compensating away from those old injuries, and now another part of the body is having to do more work that's intended. And now we start seeing a random thing start showing up. I always had a bad left knee, but now all of a sudden my right hip is hurting me. Well, that's coming from the compensations from those old injuries. So if we can relearn how to move and how to train our body correctly in a smart way that still is the way that we enjoy it in just a little bit of time, like we're talking 15 to 20 minutes a day, just a little bit of deliberate movement that you can even space out. You can do 5 minutes here, 5 minutes there, 5 minutes there. You can correct your body, and years of damage, years of injuries, decades of habits, and you can relearn. You can teach an old dog new tricks, but we just need to be committed and know what we need to do for our specific body. So, guys, if you're watching live or the recording, I want you to comment below and tell me what activities, what sports, what types of fitness that you love. And I would love to know what tweaks and or injuries you've been dealing with. So write that below in the comments. Would love to know what activities you love, what forms of fitness you love, and or what tweaks and or injuries that you've been dealing with. And come back tomorrow at 10 a.m. Pacific /1 p.m. Eastern, where we're going to be talking about what we need to do differently around our rehab and workouts to achieve our health and fitness. You don't want to miss it. I can't wait to see you guys there.